Hi dear friends, how are you all? Welcome to our YouTube channel HR Tutorials India. In this video, we'll discuss what is Form 16, Part A and Part B. What is Form 16? Form 16 is especially a certificate employees issue to their employees every year on or before 15th June of the next year, immediately after the financial year in which the tax is deducted. It provides a validation that TDS has been deducted and deposited with the government authorities on behalf of the employee. It gives a detailed summary of the salary paid to the employee and the TDS deducted. In simple words, Form 16 is a certificate which is issued by the employer to their employees on or before 15th of June of the following financial year in which the tax is deducted. This Form 16 is a validated certificate which provides the information about the TDS that has been deducted and deposited by the company with the government authorities on behalf of the employee. This Form 16 has the detailed summary of the salary paid and the TDS deducted and deposited. Form 16 contains the information you need to prepare and file your income tax return. Form 16 has two components, Part A and Part B. In case if you lose your Form 16, you can request for a duplicate from your employer. A Form 16 is a document that is very much required for an individual or an employee to file their income tax returns. The Form 16 has two components, mainly Part A and Part B. And if in case an employee loses his or her Form 16, then they can request for a duplicate copy from their employer. Part A of Form 16. Let us now understand what is Part A of Form 16. Part A of Form 16 provides the details of the quarterly TDS deducted and deposited, details of PAN, TAN of the employer along with other information. Part A of the Form 16 contains the quarterly TDS that has been deducted and deposited along with the details of the PAN and the TAN of the employer along with other information. An employee can generate and download this part of Form 16 through traces. Prior to issuing the certificate, the employer should authenticate its content. There is an option for an employee who can generate and download Part A of Form 16 through Traces website, and it is well advised for the employer to authenticate the contents in the Part A of Form 16 while issuing the certificate. It is important to note that if you change your job in 1 year, every employer will issue a separate Part A of Form 16 for the period of employment. Some of the components of Part A are name and address of the employer, TAN and PAN of the employer, PAN of the employee, summary of tax deducted and deposited quarterly which is certified by the employer. If an employee shifts his or her job in between the financial year, then it is the responsibility of the employer to issue the Part A of the Form 16 to the employee during the period of the employment. And the components which consist of Part A are name and address of the employer, TAN and PAN of the employer, PAN of the employee, and also the summary of tax deducted and deposited quarterly basis which is certified by the employer. Part B of Form 16. Now let us see what is Part B of Form 16. Part B of Form 16 is an annexure of Part A. Part B is to be prepared by the employer for its employees, containing the details of breakup of salary deductions approved under Chapter 6A. In simple words, Part B of Form 16 is an annexure of Part A, which means the details of Part A is provided in Part B. The Part B of Form 16 is prepared by the employer to its employees, which contains the details of the breakup of salaries deductions approved under Chapter 6A. If you change your job in one financial year, you should take Form 16 from both the employers. Which means if an employee quits a job and shifts to another job, then it is the responsibility of the employee to take Form 16 of both Part A and Part B from the employer. Some of the components of Part B notified newly are detailed breakup of the salary is mentioned in the Part B of Form 16. Detailed breakup of exempted allowances under Section 10, deductions allowed under Income Tax Act under Chapter 6A, deductions of life insurance premium paid, contribution to PPF under Section 80C and 80CCC, deductions of employees' contribution to pension scheme under Section 80CC D1, 80CC D1B and 80CC D2, deductions for health insurance premium paid under Section 80D, deduction for interest paid on loan taken for higher education under Section 80E, deduction for donations made under Section 80G, deduction of interest income on savings account under Section 80 TTA. So these are the components for the detailed breakup of the salary which will be mentioned in the Part B of Form 16. Form 16 required for filling income tax returns. Now let us see why Form 16 is required to fill income tax returns. Following is where you will be able to locate certain information for filling your income tax returns for the financial year 2021-22. Allowances exempt under Section 10, breakup of deductions under Section 16, taxable salary, income or admissible loss from house property reported by employee offered for TDS, income under the head other sources offered for TDS, breakup of Section 80C deductions, aggregate of section 80C deductions gross and deductible amount, tax payable or refund due. So these are required in Form 16 for filing income tax returns. What is the eligibility criteria for Form 16? Now let us see who are eligible to get or take Form 16. According to the regulations issued by the Finance Ministry of the Indian government, every salary individual who falls under taxable bracket is eligible for Form 16. Which means, as per the regulations of Finance Ministry of Indian government, every salary individual who falls on the taxable bracket is eligible for Form 16. If an employee does not fall within the tax bracket set, he or she will not need to have tax deducted at source (TDS). Hence, in these cases, the company is not under an obligation to provide Form 16 to the employee. Which means, an employee whose salary is not falling in the bracket of tax, then the TDS or the tax deducted source is not mandatory for the employer to deduct. Hence, in these cases, the company is not under obligation to provide Form 16 to the employees. However, these days, as a good work practice, many organizations, even in these cases, issue certificate to the employees as it contains a consolidated picture of the earnings of the individuals and has other additional uses as well. Even it is not mandatory, there are few employers who are issuing the Form 16 to the employees for having a clear consolidated picture of the earnings of the individual, which helps the employee to understand his or her salary breakup. Points to be noted while checking Form 16. When an employer issues a Form 16 to the employee, it is the minimum responsibility for the employee to check the points which are mandatory in the Form 16. Once an individual receives the Form 16 from the employer, it is his or her responsibility to ensure that all the details mentioned therein are correct. In addition to verifying the personal particulars and the details of the amount of income and TDS deducted, the most important thing one needs to confirm is Form 16 is the PAN number. If it is mentioned inaccurately, one should immediately reach out to HR, payroll or finance department of the organization and get the same corrected. The employee will be issued a rectified and updated Form 16 by his or her employer. Besides this, the employer would also need to make a correction from their end by filing revised return of tax to credit TDS proceeds to the correct PAN. So the points need to be checked while checking Form 16 are whether all the details like the salary breakup and the TDS deducted, all the amounts are correct or wrong. And it is the responsibility of the employee to check whether the TDS deducted and the PAN number and the name mentioned in the Form 16 are correct or wrong. If it is incorrect, then it is the responsibility of the employee to intimate to the HR or payroll or finance department to get the name and PAN number get corrected. And it is the responsibility of the employer to correct the name and the PAN number and then file the revised tax returns with respect to the correct PAN and the name of the employee. How to check whether the Form 16 salary deductions and the exemptions are correct or wrong? For this, I have already made a video, that is how to fill the income tax declaration or tax declaration form, which will be issued by the employer to the employee in the starting of the financial year. So it is the minimum responsibility of the employee to check with the declaration form which has been submitted to the employer at the starting of the financial year, and that document has to be compared with the Form 16 that is issued by the employer at the end of the financial year. As per the declaration, that has the salary breakup and the TDS deductions and all the exemptions need to match with the Form 16. If there is any mismatch, then it is the responsibility of the employee to check with the HR or finance or payroll department stating that there is a mismatch of income tax declaration form and the Form 16. Then the corrections need to be corrected by the employer. Now I'll show you how a Form 16 Part A and Part B looks like. I'm just now showing you the sample format of Part A of Form 16. Form 16 Part A. This has been issued by the employer to the employee, which consists of name of the employer and address, name of the employee and address. Then contains PAN number of the director, TAN number of the director, PAN of the employee, assessment year, period of the employer. Then it consists of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 with the receipt numbers. It consists of amount paid or credited to the employee, amount of tax deducted from the employee, amount of tax paid or deposited to the income tax department. Then it consists of tax deposited with respect to the deductee, the amount what has been deducted, BSR number, date on which the tax is deposited, challan series number and status of matching with OLTAS. Then it's a continuation. Then finally the verification by the employer, and then this has to be signed by the employer. This is digitally signed. So friends, this is the sample format of Form 16 Part A. Now let us see the Part B of Form 16. Now I am showing a sample format of Part B of Form 16, which consists of name and address of the employer, name and address of the employee, PAN number of the deductor, TAN number of the deductor, PAN number of the employee. Then CIT TDS, assessment year, period with the employer. As we have already discussed that Part B is the annexure of Part A, which means details of the salary paid and the TDS deducted will be mentioned in the Part B in a detailed format. It consists of gross salary, where the income is generated through salary or profit or other allowances, etc. Travel allowances, death cum retirement, computed value of pension, etc. Then HRA, then exemptions, total number of salary received from the current employer. Then comes the deductions, standard deduction, entertainment allowance, tax on employment under section 16, and total amount of deductions under section 16. Income chargeable under head salaries. Then comes any other income reported by the employer under as per section 192 2B. Gross total income. Then other deductions under chapter 6A. Total of amount deductible under any other provisions of chapter 6A. Then comes total taxable income. Then finally comes net tax payable. Finally, verification by the employer with the signature which is signed digitally. So dear friends, this is the sample format of Part B of Form 16. So dear friends, hope you have seen and understood Part A and Part B of Form 16. So dear friends, hope you understood Form 16, Part A and Part B, and also the components of Part A and Part B of Form 16, and why a Form 16 is required, and how the Form 16 Part A and Part B helps an employee to file income tax returns. So dear friends, if you have any queries or questions related to this video, please do comment in the comment section. I'll be happy enough to answer all your queries. And if you like this video, please do subscribe and share among your friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice day.